James Avery, rest in peace, Fresh
Yes.
Prince. In the meantime, when it comes to taking down your tree and other holiday greenery, you can make it last all year round.
All right, Wisdom is outside with Derek Thomas with more details. Hey, Wiz.
Hey, good morning to you, and I'm not doing any Carlton dances out
Okay,
here
good.
today, or ever, for that matter. Derek Thomas, Garden Grow, we're talking about happy 2014.
New Year. Yeah, happy 2014.
Let's talk about composting right now. Let's start off talking about this.
Yeah, well, okay, so composting, what it's all about, it's all about taking plant material in your garden and breaking it down. This is a really, really neat composter for anyone that's afraid of composting.
Okay.
And it's also, it's their backyard composter by Fiskars.
Okay.
What it does is it expands out like this. It's nothing but a mesh. It's got space here for water and air to get into there.
Okay.
And then it's also got air spaces at the bottom. And if you notice, there's a lot of air that I talked about, and that's one of the most important things when you're composting.
Okay.
You don't want to go and use, I've seen people using those old recycle bins that look like a paper bin. You don't want to use something like that because really what's going to happen at the bottom is your compost is going to rot.
Okay.
And you don't want that. You want the stuff to break down and you want it to decompose, but you don't want it to get all mushy.
Gotcha. Okay.
When you're composting, what you want to think about is how you're going to, reuse plant material from your garden. And this time of year, it's really, really good because we've got evergreen, the trees. We've got the wreaths, all of that. How about the evergreens that you didn't get to pruning?
Okay.
This is a great time to go ahead and prune those.
All right, so I'm going to try this, right? I'm going to try
you're
to prune.
you're gonna
I got the
try to
gloves
prune.
on.
Go ahead.
All right, so about right here.
Yeah,
in
go
between
ahead and
there.
take that off.
All right.
And what you want to
Got
do is
that.
hand
Okay.
those over to me.
Okay.
And this is all going to become part of what we end up putting in our compost.
Okay.
Now I've got leaves. Leaves are a great source of carbon. And what you basically want is to want to have about 30 parts carbon to 1 parts of nitrogen.
Gotcha.
Now nitrogen is most of your green stuff. Any of your grass clippings, any of that. So you want 1 part of that to about 30 parts of the leaves.
Okay.
And leaves, when you have leaves like this, the one thing that you want to try to do, if you break them down, you don't have to do this, but if you break them down into finer pieces, that's going to help your composting go a long way.
Gotcha.
The other thing that you can do with things like your Christmas tree boughs, go ahead and cut off a lot of this woody part because once again, the woody part is going to contribute carbon and it's also got sap and it's going to take a lot longer time to break down.
Gotcha. Okay, and that's the good stuff. Now, there
That's
are
all the
some
good
things that you're not supposed to do.
Right, now as
Put
I'm
into the
taking apart,
compost.
I'm going to start
Gotcha.
taking apart this wreath. As I'm doing this, the things that you're not supposed to put in there, you're not supposed to put things like this bow. This is not organic. This is not going to decompose.
Right. Okay. So you don't want that
You
in
don't
there.
want that. You don't want to do any animal waste like your pets.
Right.
Okay, horse manure and stuff like that has always been used, but you don't want to use dog and cat waste in your manure.
Gotcha.
They are omnivores, and some of the bacteria that they can introduce into your compost is not real good.
Okay, so don't do that.
Don't do that.
Animal waste.
Don't use any meats. You don't want to take meat scraps and stuff like that. Now, vegetable scraps from your kitchen, absolutely, whether they're raw or cooked. But if you've used butter, for instance, in your veggies, don't put that into your compost.
Okay.
Okay, like if you steamed veggies and then you've got some left over, you can absolutely put that.
Got it.
So any of your vegetable scraps you can do. Another thing that you don't want to introduce into, a lot of people think that it's okay because it's plant-based. What you don't want to introduce into the compost is any processed food products that came from a plant.
Gotcha,
So for
okay.
instance, peanut butter, jelly, any of those once a plant, now a food,
Gotcha.
you don't want to put that.
Don't do it. Gotcha. Okay.
Now, when you're putting it in there, you see what I'm doing here? I'm taking the wreath and I'm actually cutting it up into little bitty pieces. And the reason I'm doing that is that that's going to go a long way in helping our compost break down quicker.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you can take this all apart. The
Gotcha,
pine
okay.
cones, we don't want to use those.
Don't want to use pine cones. So
You
we
can
got it.
take this, you can mix it together. One of the things, if you're going to use a small composter, homemade composter like this, make sure that you're continually turning it,
Gotcha.
and then that way your compost is going to break down, and you're going to have great soil come spring of next year.
Great soil. That's what it's all about. Derek,
It's all about great soil.
thank you very much. Always good
Thank
to see you.
Good to
Appreciate
see
it.
you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right.
Fox 5 Morning News back in a moment.